it's Nicole. Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I am so freaking excited to share the new Vice collection for 2026. Longtime viewers of the channel will be fully aware that Cirque's Vice collection is always one of my favorite collections that Cirque releases every single year. I have personally purchased quite a few Vice collections over the years, and I'm just really excited to share because I feel like this year's Vice collection is one for the record books. For summer 2026, the Vice collection features 9 nail polishes. We have 7 re-promotes as well as 2 brand new shades, and most excitedly, I feel like if you've been watching my Vice collections every year, you probably hear me say multiple times that I want one particular shade for Cirque to bring back, and spoiler, they brought that back this year for the very first time, I might add. The Vice collection is available right now on the Cirque Colors website, and this release is considered limited edition. If you would like to pick up anything on the Cirque Colors website, including this new release, you can use my handy dandy affiliate code, which is Nicole Loves Nails. Thank you very much to Cirque Colors for sponsoring today's video. I greatly appreciate the support. As always, in the description box, I will have a link to the Cirque Colors website. I will have their social media pages, my social media pages. I also will have some comparisons and timestamps from the description box as well. Let's get right into this video. Since all the polishes in this collection are in fact neons, I did also want to very quickly show that these do all glow under black light. These are not glow in the dark polishes, but when under black lights, they will in fact glow. So I'm going to give a warning now. Because all of the polishes in the Vice collection are in fact neons, they are incredibly difficult to get color accurate. So I did try my best, but just know all of these shades are bright. For all of my swatches for today's video, I'm going to be showing them over the Cirque Colors Clean State Ridge Filling Base Coat, as well as with the Cirque Colors Looking Glass Top Coat. And we're going to go in rainbow order just because I can. So there. The first polish up is called Road Rage, and Cirque is describing this one as being a neon red cream with pink undertones. Road Rage had a fantastic formula. This is a bright, eye-searing red cream that definitely does have pink undertones. I feel like you'll most noticeably see those pink undertones when it's kind of near other kind of reds or orange shades. I feel like initially I'm just like, oh wow, it's red. And then as I had it on a little bit longer, I started to see what they meant by calling this one having pink undertones. You'll see in the comparisons next to like a more orange leaning color that you'll see a lot of that pink come out more strongly near other oranges. Road Rage self-leveled absolutely beautifully. I do feel like if you were really trying hard, you could get this one opaque in 1, but as you'll hear me say a lot in this video, my swatches show this shade in 2 coats. While this one was on the thicker side, I didn't find it applied difficultly at all. It self-leveled perfectly. It stayed where you put it. It's a super easy formula to work with. My full hand swatches show Road Rage in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. I feel like my hands tend to photograph really warm in tone, and I did not find that I got lobster hands with this shade at all, which I think is courtesy of that kind of pinky undertone. I love Road Rage. I think this is a fantastic red neon. Since this is a re-promote, I have worn this one in the past. I've never personally experienced staining while wearing this shade. If you are at all concerned about staining on your natural nails, I would highly recommend doubling up on your base coat. And since this is a neon, it is going to dry down pretty dull on its own, so you will for sure want some glossy top coat. The next polish up is called Superfreak. This is another re-promoted shade, and Cirque describes this one as a neon orange cream. Superfreak also had a fantastic formula. This is a super bright, kind of like a traffic cone orange shade. I love me an eye-searingly bright neon, and this one just, good, delicious. This is definitely like, my eyeballs orange. On the first coat of this one, it did look like initially it was going to be a solid 1 coater. I did find this one just kind of shears out as it dries down a little bit. So it went from like applying like a cream to drying down almost like a crelly shade. I did not find that this one leaned red at all. I don't want to use the word rare per se, but I feel like very frequently for neon oranges, they very often lean towards kind of like a red or in the pink area. Like this is very solidly like a really bright orange. Even though this shade does dry down a bit more dull than it initially applies, I still was able to reach full opacity with it in only 2 coats. However, I do think for those of you with like super long nails, there is some potential that you might need a 3rd coat. So I do want to give a possible staining warning for this shade. I did not personally experience staining when I took this one off, but I did find as I was kind of like wiping the polish off of my nails, that it felt like it just wanted to really stick to my nails a little bit. So definitely double up on your base coat if you're concerned at all about staining. My full hand swatches show Superfreak in 2 coats plus 1 layer of glossy top coat. It does dry down dull. You will in fact want some top coat for a glossy finish, but super easy for removal. The next new shade from the Vice collection is called Nepobaby, and Cirque describes this one as a neon peach pink cream nail polish. Nepobaby also had a fantastic but slightly thicker formula. You're gonna hear me say this a lot for these polishes. They are on the thicker side, but not at all difficult to apply, and they all self-level really well. I would say this one is just shy of being a 1 coater. My swatches are going to show it in 2 coats. Similarly to the last shade, I feel like if you went in for a slightly thicker coat, you could definitely get this one opaque in 1. But my swatches are going to be showing it in 2 coats because I don't run around with 1 coat of polish on. So I do agree with Cirque's color description for this shade. It is a very peachy pink. I wouldn't call this one salmon personally. I feel like it's a peachy orange, but like it has this like a little bit of pink in it, but not enough to be salmony. This one is super duper bright and will be absolutely perfect as a pedicure color. I mean, obviously you can wear it on your nails too, because duh, I'm gonna do that as well. But I'm just saying, on them toes, it's gonna look so cute. So for my full hand swatches, it is showing Nepobaby in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. And unrelated but related, I love the name of this polish very much. I think it's, I love it. And because this is a neon, it is gonna dry down a bit dull on its own, so you will for sure want some glossy top coat to bring a life back to the polish. And it's a cream, so super duper easy to remove. I did not personally experience any staining with this shade while I was swatching it either. And the next polish up is called Electric Daisy. I feel like this is a much beloved neon shade from Cirque. Is it one of their best? I would say so. And Cirque describes this one as a neon highlighter yellow cream. Electric Daisy had a fantastic formula. I was actually really shocked at how opaque this one was in only 1 coat. If you have never seen the pigment on its own for this kind of color, it basically looks like highlighter juice. It's really sheer. So the fact that Cirque got this almost being a 1 coater in 1 coat of this one, I was honestly really shocked. NANI? You will see later in the comparisons portion of this, I actually have multiple bottles of Electric Daisy, and I will say I feel like the formulation on this one is in fact better than my other versions of Electric Daisy. I feel like this one is a slightly thicker than my other bottles of Electric Daisy. Even though this is on the thicker side, I didn't find it difficult to apply. It self-leveled shockingly well for a yellow, as well as being just like a smidge more opaque. So my nails are currently fairly damaged because I took off my gel overlay wrong. Yay! So I will admit, so I have a couple of nails that are more textured than others. So I did find on my more textured nails, while I found the polish itself applied really nicely, I found as the polish dried down, you could really see those like added textury bits, especially on my middle nail. That's like the worst nail on my whole hand. So I did end up adding a 3rd layer onto my middle nail as well as on my ring finger, because those are my more textured nails currently. But my other nails, I found this was able to get opaque on me in 2 coats. In case anyone's wondering, when I wear this one as a pedicure, I always wear it in 2 coats. I'm gonna call this one a 2 to 3 coater depending on your nail texturedness levels as well as your application style. When I go back to wear this shade, I am probably gonna add an extra layer of a ridge filling base coat on my natural nails. Electric Daisy is very much the color of like a tennis ball. This is that bright highlighter yellow that leans kind of greenish. When swatching polishes like this, I just think about the dark days of having to wear a white base with neons and just think, it was a living hell! So my full hand swatches show Electric Daisy in 2 coats plus 3 coats on my problem nails. This does dry down very dull, just like the other neon, so you will for sure want some glossy top coat. Super easy removal. I did not personally experience any staining with this one. I don't recall ever getting stained from Electric Daisy, but as always, if you're concerned, double up on your base coat. The next polish up is called Thirsty, and Cirque describes this one as a neon mint green cream. Thirsty had a fantastic formula, definitely on the thicker side, just like the other polishes in the release. I did find, however, that Thirsty does self-level a little bit slower than some of the other colors in this collection. In comparison to some of the other colors in this collection, I feel like Thirsty leans a bit more towards the pastel neon territory. So I do agree with Cirque's color description for this shade. This is very much in that kind of mint green family. For whatever reason, I did find that for Thirsty, this one, whenever I put it in front of my camera, I feel like it photographs as well as up on video, it comes across as a lot stronger, kind of like a white base looking. Like I feel like it looks more neon pastel on camera than it does in person. It's a very kind of pastel neon minty green color, but I feel like that added kind of white that they use to lighten it up so much, I feel like the white really comes through really hard. So if you're at all worried about this one looking kind of chalky on the nail, it is not in fact chalky in person. Similarly to Electric Daisy, I did find that for Thirsty, on my more textured nails, I needed to add an extra layer layer of polish just to kind of not see the texture as strongly. I think until my damage fully grows out, I think I'm gonna start adding an extra layer of my ridge filling base coat for all of my swatches just to try to combat the texture. I did a little bit of extra buffing on my nail, which I hate buffing my nails, just to try to even out some of that texture. So if you're seeing any like texture on the nail, it's because my nail is currently damaged. And I would rather not damage my nails even more by buffing them more than I already have. I just want to grow out the damage in peace. I'm sorry. As someone who is not in fact a super pastel loving person, I do in fact make an exception for neon pastels. This one is super bright and just overall really gorgeous. I'm honestly surprised that this is my first time having Thirsty as a polish. I've never owned Thirsty before, and I definitely see why people like this one so much. For my full hand swatches, I'm showing this one in 2 coats as well as in 3 coats on my more problem nails. So I'll call this one a 2 to 3 coater depending on like the state of your nail. The smoother your nail, the more easy you're gonna be able to get that easy 2 coats. I did find for my nails that didn't have as much texture on them that was super easy to get this one smooth and perfect in 2 coats. And I did not personally experience any staining with this one, and it does dry down very dull on its own, so you will for sure want some glossy top coat. The next polish up is called Doomscroll. This is one of the new shades for 2026. So Cirque is describing Doomscroll as being a neon periwinkle cream. Doomscroll had a fantastic formula. This one was a bit on the thicker side, but not the kind of thickness that makes application difficult. I found this applied really nicely, very evenly, self-leveled perfectly as well. This one was super opaque on that first coat. I do think if you go in for like a slightly thicker first coat, you can definitely get this one opaque in 1 coat. Do I recommend it? Not necessarily, but I understand sometimes you just have time for 1 coat and you gotta skedaddle. So I would describe the color of this one as a very vibrant blue that leans towards periwinkle. There's like the teeniest droplet of purple, so I wouldn't call this one blue. Periwinkle fits it really well. As someone who is not in fact a massive periwinkle fan, I love this color anyway. So for my full hand swatches, I swatched out Doomscroll in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. Because this is indeed a neon, it is gonna dry down fairly dull, so you will for sure want some glossy top coat to bring life back to the polish. I feel like this is the kind of color that I would absolutely love on my toes. And also warning now, as we're heading into neon season, you're gonna hear me talk about my feet quite a bit. I'm sorry, but neons belong on the toes. They just do. I love my neons on toes, so I'm not gonna show you my feet. Y'all didn't pay for that.
Oh my.
And since this is a cream, it is going to be super duper easy to remove. I did not personally experience any staining while swatching it. The next polish up is called Lean. I am so freaking excited that they brought back Lean. After last year's Miami Dade, Lean was the shade from Cirque that I wanted to bring back for Vice so much, so I'm very excited to finally have a bottle of Lean. And Cirque describes Lean as being a neon ultraviolet cream. Lean had a fantastic formula. This is another shade in the collection that I did find kind of applied almost towards like being a crelly. It wasn't quite as opaque or as thick as some of the other colors in the collection. I didn't find that the base on Lean felt overly thick or thin, 0 application issues, and it self-leveled perfectly. And yes, in case anyone's wondering, it did indeed live up to the hype that I gave it in my mind. And I am sure some negative Nancy is gonna pop in here and say, Nicole, that's not a neon.
Now listen closely.
It is a neon. It glows under black light. It's a neon. Unfortunately, neon purples just don't have as much kind of like pop as far as their neoniness goes. I don't know why, that's just how the pigments work. Lean is a very vibrant purple shade. I do feel like Lean has almost, not necessarily that it leans blue at all. I feel like this is just so cool toned that it has almost kind of a bluish hue to it. I mostly only noticed that bluish hue when I pulled my polish out of the bottle or like around the inner neck of the bottle. Like I swore I was seeing blue, but on my nail, it's strictly just purple. I love how this shade looks on my nails, and I'm sure I am heavily biased because this was like my biggest ask from Cirque to bring back, but this is a gorgeous purple. I found this applied super easily. Even though this shade had just slightly more of like a crelly lean to it, I did still find that I was able to reach full opacity in only 2 coats. My full hand swatches show Lean in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. Because this is a neon shade, it does indeed dry down fairly dull on its own. You will in fact want some top coat, but it's a cream, so it's gonna be super easy to remove. The next polish up is called Socialite. This is a re-promoted shade, and Cirque describes this one as a neon pink lilac cream. Socialite had a fantastic fantastic but definitely thicker formula. I found this to be the thickest polish in the collection. Because this one is so much on the thicker side, I found it really easy to go in for too thick of a coat. So for my live swatch, I tried to have less polish on my brush to go in for a thinner coat, and then I ended up not having enough polish on my brush at all. So if you see me kind of struggling at all with one side of my nail, it's because I didn't have enough polish on my brush, and that's what happened. And even though I definitely overworked my first coat on the live swatch,
A win is a win.
I still was able to get this opaque on me in only 2 coats for the live swatch, as well as for my full hand swatches. So this does self-level really, really nicely. So I do once again agree with Cirque's color description for this shade. This is very much a pink color in my book, but it does have just like a little bit of a lilac-y lean to it. I will admit, Socialite is not my usual preferred tone of like a neon pink shade. This is another one that leans like a little bit towards that neon pastel kind of territory. Even though this is not my normal cup of tea as far as a pink goes, I actually finished my day doing my swatches with that shade. So I had that one on overnight and a little bit for the morning, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I was feeling wearing that color. I think honestly it's because it was both pink and also really bright, and I feel like any things that I don't like about paler pinks kind of get negated once they get really, really bright. So I had this one on for quite a while. I did not personally experience any staining with this one, but again, I also had on 2 layers of base coat. Because this is a neon, it is going to dry down fairly dull on its own, so you will in fact want some glossy top coat with it, and super easy removal. And the final polish in the Vice collection for 2026 is called White Lie. This is a neon white cream. White Lie also had a fantastic formula. This one did not feel chalky at all. I feel like one thing that I don't usually love about a white cream is that they often just apply kind of like chalkily.
That's not a word.
And I don't love the application on them. I didn't find that to be the case at all for White Lie. Yes, that is indeed what's been on my hand this entire video. White Lie applied super easily, very smoothly, and self-leveled really nicely. If you want to use this one for a base in nail art, I feel like you get even enough coverage in one coat that you can definitely use it as a really nice base for a gradient. However, if you're going to be wearing it on its own, I would recommend building it up in 2 coats. I do find that wearing it on its own, I admit, because I am not in fact like the usual lover of wearing white nail polish, I am super, super picky on how a white nail polish looks. And if I see any kind of unevenness, it makes my brain itch. So if you're gonna wear this one on its own, I personally would recommend going in for 2 coats. But if you're putting like a topper or nail art on top of it, 1 coat definitely looks perfectly fine. So I feel like white is an atypical color for a neon collection. In the past, we used to have a white polish in a neon collection because the polishes, you know, weren't opaque and needed a white base.
Hated it.
Cirque describes this one as being a neon white due to the fact that it glows under UV light. This is a super, super bright white cream. I'm going to describe it as being slightly more cool toned. Not that it has a blue undertone, just that it is a very chalk white color. This is the vibe we were going for when we used to put white out on our nails. Especially for a white shade, I found this applied really nicely and self-leveled perfectly. It is a common misconception that all white nail polishes glow under black light. That is not in fact true, and I actually only realized that last year when Cirque first debuted this shade. My full hand swatches show White Lie in 2 coats plus 1 layer of glossy top coat. This is going to be super duper easy to remove because it is in fact a cream. As I still have the polish on, I can't speak on if this is going to stain me, but I have worn White Lie on my toes before and I did not in fact notice any staining. So you want to hear how excited I was for the Vice collection? I did nail art.
Oh my God.
For those of you who watched me for, you know, a length of time, you know I am not in fact super nail art inclined. I dabble, but I would not in fact call myself a nail artiste. So I did some nail art for this collection and I'm going to show you how I did it. So I did a neon leopard print nail art. To do this nail art, I used a base of Cirque Colors Rose Jelly. I did 3 coats of Rose Jelly. Rose Jelly is a really nice, what I think of as like a nail bed color. I added 1 layer of the Cirque Colors Looking Glass top coat on top of Rose Jelly just to make sure that my base was dry when I started doing my nail art. So using a dotting tool, in essence what you're going to want to do is put little blobs on your nails. You don't want them all to be exactly the same size and shape. For my fellow bakers out there, think of if you put too much batter in a loaf pan and it kind of splooged out the sides a little bit. That's the overall shape you want to go for the little leopard print dot. So I dotted on little bloops of colors for across all of my nails with a dotting tool. I used a medium-sized head for my dotting tool. If you don't own a dotting tool, you can also use a toothpick or a pencil tip head to kind of bloop things on as well. I let those little bloop layers dry down a little bit, and then once they were dry, I got a slightly smaller size dotting tool and kind of made little C's around the little bloops. For some of my leopard prints, I also decided that it would be really cute to kind of close them in a little bit more than just making, you know, C's on either side. But I wanted this to look really organic and natural as a neon leopard can look. And so I kind of had some variances in just the shapes and sizes because I thought that would look more, you know, artsy fartsy. And then because my too much gene had not yet kicked in, so I just did little dots of black across my nail in some of the empty spaces that I didn't feel were big enough to put in another leopard print, but I wanted like some kind of like something happening in the background. And again, my too much gene still hadn't kicked in yet after that. So then I said, Nicole, this is missing something integral to make it a Nicole Loves Nails manicure.
Gold!
And of course, you all know what I did. I added gold. So I busted out my one true love, Cirque Colors AU. Cirque's AU is a 23 karat gold nail polish topper. Unfortunately, it's currently out of stock. Truthfully, I keep using AU for two reasons. One, because I love it because it's real gold, and two, because I'm hoping if I use it enough, Cirque will eventually see that people want this and love it and they click on the listing. So I'm really, really hoping Cirque eventually does in fact bring that one back because it's absolutely amazing. If you are newer to this kind of nail art, I will say you want to kind of be careful on how you space out the little bloops. Just remember that on two sides of the bloops, at least, you're going to have kind of added black on the side. So just make sure to leave space between them. You can always add more. Harder to take them off. When I initially did this on my full hand, I kind of made my bloops a little bit too small. So you don't want them to look like jelly beans or sprinkles. You definitely want them to look more like blobs. As someone who is not in fact super nail art inclined, these were super, super easy to work with for the nail art. I actually messed up my pinky initially. I didn't make my bloops big enough. So when I added the black to the sides of the colors, it was basically more black than there was color. And because these were so opaque, I was able to just take my dotting tool and kind of re-bloop on color on top of the black cream, and you can't even tell that I messed up. These are fantastic for nail art. Oh my god, I loved how this turned out so very much. If anyone decides to recreate this nail art look, please make sure to tag me on Instagram, TikTok, wherever the heck you post it. I'm on all the social media. I really, really love how this nail art turned out. Like, it's so stinking cute. I need to recreate it again because like I love it that much. Alrighty, let's get into some comparisons. So comparing neons is gonna be pretty tricky because my camera is freaking out so very much over just how bright and neon-y these shades are. So I'm going to do my best to explain the color differences that I am seeing in person. So first up over here to compare to Road Rage, I pulled out my bottle of Road Rage from the Vice collection from 2024, as well as my bottle of Game Over from the Vice collection of 2023. I am not seeing any true differences between these three polishes on camera. So in person, I will say my new bottle of Road Rage is just a hair brighter than my older bottle of Road Rage. I personally consider Road Rage one of the Vice polishes that it doesn't fade too badly. Like, this is still a super bright color. Love this on the toes. But for Game Over, this one definitely has faded a smidge with time. Color-wise, the difference between Road Rage and Game Over, I would say Game Over is leaning quite a bit more orange in tone. I unfortunately don't have a bottle of the original Superfreak, so I can't compare this version of Superfreak to the old one because I unfortunately don't own it. So anyway, to compare to Superfreak, I pulled out Pyro from the Vice 2022 collection. All of my other orange shades from Cirque, I either pulled out for the kind of reddish color comparison or for these more salmon-y ones over here. So I thought these are going to be the most comparable. Unfortunately, Pyro has faded quite a bit. It is a lot darker in color than it was when I originally got it. To compare to Nepobaby, I pulled out Boozy Brunch from 2025 and Rumor Mill from 2023. I feel like all of these orange shades can be comparable, so I'm also going to put all of the names on screen for these two shades over here just so you can see all of the various oranges. I specifically wanted to compare Boozy Brunch to Nepobaby because I thought that would be the most similar color-wise. Nepobaby, in my opinion, is more pinky toned than Boozy Brunch. Like, I feel like Boozy Brunch is a color that I reach for if I want like an orangey peachy kind of shade on my toes, and I feel like when I pull out Nepobaby, it's gonna just lean like a little bit more pink toned. And then for Rumor Mill over here, this is significantly more orange. Like, there's no confusing this one for being like a pinky orange. It's just, you know, orange. Okay, next up to compare to Electric Daisy, I pulled out I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I feel like there are moments in having this much nail polish and like duplicates where it comes in handy. And I feel like this is how I justify to myself owning so much nail polish, so I can do things like this.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this.
So to compare to Electric Daisy, I have Electric Daisy from 2024, Electric Daisy from 2022. I have Sunnin over here from 2025, Hedonist from 2023, and then Hedonist from 2018. So as you can see, I have 3 bottles of Electric Daisy from 3 different years. I will say, for all 3 of these bottles, these are all still super, 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 super bright neon tennis ball green kind of colors. But I feel like in person, and I feel like on camera as well, there is a little bit of color difference between them. While I was not in fact in the lab with Cirque when they were formulating these ones, I feel like Electric Daisy from this year, I feel like this has a bit less of a streaky formula in comparison to these other 2 bottles of Electric Daisy. I think the 2024 Electric Daisy did have a wide paddle brush, but I don't think the 2022 one did. But they all have the wide paddle brush, and I swear 2025 applies so much better. Last year I described this one as being kind of in the middle between Electric Daisy and Hedonist. It is still has like that little droplet of green to it towards like the, you know, the tennis ball kind of color for highlighter, but not quite like sunshiny as Hedonist. To compare to Thirsty, I pulled out Cream. This one is from 2023. Right here we have Cushy. My bottle is from 2022. And then over here we have Cyber, and my bottle is from 2018. So I feel like all 4 of these green shades are in fact different tones of green. I feel like they're different levels of like what you would expect from a neon green. I feel like this is also going to give me quite a bit of trouble in the editing front. I'm going to try to get this as close to color accurate as I can, but my camera is definitely blowing out Thirsty. Cyber down here is the darkest of the bunch. This has always been a more darker neon, definitely bright, but still, you know, a darker neon. I feel like Cushy is the tone of what I think of as, if somebody asked me what color neon green is, I feel like my mind would immediately go to Cushy, that this is like what I think of as like a true neon green. Cream is a bit lighter, not quite neon pastel, but heading in that direction, and I feel like it has just like a smidge more yellow than the other colors. And for Thirsty, if there is such a color as a classic mint neon green, I would say Thirsty would fit that bill. Next up, to compare to Doomscroll, I pulled out Rhapsody in Blue. This is not in fact a neon shade, but this is probably my favorite blue from Cirque colors of all time, and whenever I have a blue, I always want to compare it to Rhapsody in Blue because it's my favorite one, and no one told me that I couldn't do that. Right here we have Mile High Club. This one came out in 2024. Right here we have Miami Dade. This is Miami Dade from 2025. I also have another bottle of Miami Dade, but I didn't feel like pulling that one out as well. And then right here we have Go Lightly. Go Lightly is not in fact a neon. It was not released in a Vice collection. The only reason I pulled out Go Lightly is because I hemmed and hawed on the differences between Miami Dade and Go Lightly for years. And I can't pull out Miami Dade without also wanting to pull out Go Lightly. They're not similar, but in my brain they are for some reason. I always remember them as being way more similar than they actually are. So to compare the actual neons in this collection, for Doomscroll, I feel like this has a little bit more white in it than Mile High Club. Mile High Club is that super bright blue that you want to see in the summertime. And I feel like Doomscroll, it's also in that bright blue that's super summery, but I feel like this has like a little bit more white in it. Like, I don't know why, but this particular color, this is making me think of like ports. Do I know anything about ports? No, but like, I don't know, my mind goes to like ports for some reason. It's very beachy. Next up, to compare to Socialite, I pulled out Socialite from 2022, Plastic from 2024, and Valley of the Dolls from 2025. I thought these were going to be the most similar color-wise to Socialite. The color of my bottle of Socialite from 2025 right here, this is in fact the color that I remember Socialite being, so I definitely think my bottle from 2022 has in fact faded a little bit. It's still a fairly bright color, but it's not as purpley toned as like a new fresh bottle is. Over here for Plastic, I feel like this is, as far as the color differences between Socialite and Plastic, I feel like this is more of a reddish kind of magenta. Like, I feel like these three here, they're all kind of pinky purple shades, but this one feels like it's redder in tone. It's a little bit darker. And then the only reason why I pulled out Valley of the Dolls is because this one came out last year, and I just wanted to throw like in like a pink shade, just so you can see how this isn't pink. And next up, to compare to Lean, I pulled out Drama Queen from 2025, Guilty Pleasure from 2024, Guilty Pleasure from 2022, and then Klepto from 2023. I desperately wish that I could compare the new version of Lean to the old version of Lean, but I have been searching for a bottle of Lean for years and I still haven't found it. If anyone's destashing an original bottle of Lean, please hit me up, because even though I have the new one, I'm still desperate for the original. So I would say all 4 of these purple shades, they're all different colors in my mind, even these 2 bottles of Guilty Pleasure over here. But out of these, I would say Lean is more cool toned leaning than these other shades. I feel like you can see in the neck of the bottle here what I mean by this one has more of like a blue tone to it. Like, it's definitely purple on the nail. It's not blurple. The next comparison here is for White Lie. Right here we have White Lie from 2026, White Lie from 2025, and then right here we have Carpe Diem. Okay, so the only reason I pulled out White Lie from last year is because it was there and I'm just like, Nicole, just show them both. To better compare white, I'm just putting this over a book so you can see how this looks over black. So I feel like on camera, even over black, there doesn't seem to be that big of a visual difference between these 2 shades of white out and then this one over here for Carpe Diem. I have always considered Carpe Diem to be Cirque's like true white color, but in comparison to White Lie, it leans just a little bit more kind of cream or yellow toned. I have never once described Carpe Diem just on its own as being yellow toned, but it's not like as stark of a white as White Lie. And again, here is White Lie and Carpe Diem under black light. So Cirque does describe White Lie as being a neon white, and by that, it glows under black light. Not all whites will glow under black light, and you can see that their old white did not in fact glow under black light. Alrighty, so final thoughts time. Let's talk about the collection. Unsurprisingly, I love this collection. Truthfully, I don't think I've ever had a Vice collection that I didn't love. Honestly, out of all of the releases that Cirque Colors has done over the years, the Vice collection is the one that I actively like froth over every single year. Like, I get super excited about Vice collections. I absolutely love that they went go big or go home and gave us 9 shades this year. I also really love that they finally brought back Lean. I feel like I've been screaming on the internet about them bringing that back for years, and I'm glad it finally happened. I also really love that this year's Vice collection, it kind of makes a neon rainbow. Spoiler, I love rainbows, in case you couldn't tell. And I'm really excited this made, in fact, a rainbow. I feel like there is a color in here for everyone's neon loving heart, and I have 0 complaints to make. As far as my personal top picks from this collection, obviously I am in fact going to pick Lean. Again, Lean, I have been begging Cirque to bring back Lean for years now, so I can't not pick that as my top pick because I love it. I would love to know what everyone else thought of this collection. Are you planning on picking this release up? Have you already picked the release up? And even better, because again, I like knowing these things, what is everyone's favorite Vice polish that has ever been released? As far as pricing and sale information goes, the Vice collection is available right now on the Cirque Colors website. Unfortunately, the Vice collection is considered a limited edition collection from this brand. While they do bring it back every year the collection is a little bit different. Cirque prices their cream formula at $12.50 each, and Cirque does have an 11 ml bottle and a gorgeous wide paddle brush. There will be a special bundle listing available if you want to pick up all 9 shades, and that bundle listing will be 10% off. If you don't want to pick up the bundle or you just want 10% off, you can use my affiliate code, which is Nicole Loves Nails, to save 10% off the entire website. Before we end today's video, I do want to give a very special shout out to my channel members. Shenanigans, story fans, your names of course, all on the screen right now. If you would like to sign up for my channel memberships, there is a link for that in the description box, or you can click join next to the subscribe button. Channel members in the Shenanigans tier, if you're watching this on Friday, May 8th, we do have a members exclusive live stream happening later today. But as always, channel memberships is completely optional. If you enjoyed today's video, like the video, comment, subscribe, and seriously, we are all good. So just thank you all for joining me for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again, Cirque, for sponsoring today's video. I hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and folks, neon season is in fact here. Have a good one. Bye.
When I get high, I ain't looking at the clock, still ballin' like Brian. Yeah, I'm headed to the Bucks, then I'm ballin' like yeah.